Hello, YouTube pipers. Double O Rick here. Double O Pipe, aka Rick. Don't even know my own name. Or my own handle, whatever you want to call it. Hope everybody's doing fine. I haven't gotten on here lately because I can't get my head around any memories to bring towards you. I'm back to my Savinelli, Bing's favorite. And I put Carter Hall in it this time, which I like as much as I do the Velvet. Well, we've had a little bit of rain here. Sunny right now. Hunter's been out a couple of times, back in bed. I'm gonna have to get him to exercise somehow though, because I've been feeding him too much and he has gained some weight. I think he's somewhere around 130 pounds now. When I took him to the vet, he was about 100 pounds, and she said, I'd like to see him stay at this weight. And I thought to myself, I would too. But if you can't get him to exercise, how's that going to happen? I'm trying to recollect some more of that introductory life when we went to Lackland Air Force Base. From that morning when we had the instructor throwing our beds over to get us to wake up at 5:30 when the bugler was out there just blowing his heart out. After we all got dressed and he marched us down to the chow hall where we had breakfast, we were still in our civilian clothes, and it was time to go to the Green Monster. The Green Monster was a long wooden building painted green where you marched in civvies and marched out, hopefully, dressed up as airmen. Well, the TI marches. TI is the training instructor. They didn't call them DIs, they called them TIs. Anyway, he marched us up to the entrance of the Green Monster. And he shouted, "Single file, march in," which we did. We, sauntered in because we were still civilians. Inside, to our left, was a counter, and behind the counter, all manner of military garb. T.I. came in behind us. And his first command when we got through the door was, "Strip!" We kind of looked at each other like, what? And again, do you need to go out? Every time I ask that, he walks right back to that bed and lays down. Anyway, as we were looking at each other like, that guy's got to be kidding, the command comes again, "Strip!" So we all shucked off our clothes and stood there like this with our hands in front of our privates. All of us as embarrassed as we could be. And the next thing was across the counter, the guy who was standing behind it yells, "Size!" We all kind of looked at each other. Huh? I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Size, moron!" I said, "Size for what?" And he says, "For your skivvies." I said, "What are skivvies?" I haven't heard that word before. He said, "Size." I said, 28. And he picked up a pair of skivvies and threw them at me. They hit me in the face, whap, and dropped to the floor. And I was just shocked. And I was told to move on, and my skivvies were on the ground. But I couldn't get them. So then we kept marching along. People were throwing clothes at us after asking our size. Pants, shirts, undershirts, head covers, and boots and chuckas. There we were with all this, half of us still naked. And then the guys behind the counter who were throwing these things at us started laughing. And somebody said, "What are you guys laughing at?" They said, "Because by the time you get to that door, you're supposed to be dressed up in your military garb or gear." Excuse me. And there are 2 flights of waifs out there who get their jollies by seeing who comes out without being dressed up. Being told that, everybody dropped their clothes and started putting on their skivvies. I got out of line and was running back to the front of the line, and the TI stopped me and said, "Where are you going, you moron?" I said, "I'm going to get my skivvies. I dropped them up there." He said, "You buy them at the BX, you sorry son of a..." So I said, "But I need my skivvies." And he said, "You need them when you get them from the BX. Get back in line." So I got in line. He came over. He said, "What's your name, airman?" And I stood there. That just shook me. Here I was being hit by this TI. He wanted my name. I didn't want to give him my name, but I had to. I was so startled I peed in my boots. So I had to give him my name, and I started putting on my clothes, trying to get everything on, because we were still moving, holding on to all this stuff and trying to get dressed. Got my shirt on, tucked it in, put my foot in one boot and started hopping away, trying to put my cap on and slip my other foot in my boot. Splash. My foot was just soaking wet. For a while I was called Piss in Boots. But I did manage to get it out the door and have my pants on, my shirt on, my boots on, and my cap on, holding the rest of my stuff like this. There were 2 lines of wafts out there, just like the guy said. And that was cold. It was a cold morning. A couple of the guys standing out there didn't have their skivvies on. Didn't have their uniforms on. And thought they were giving the wafts a happy look. They had forgotten how cold it was. Well, the wafts was just doubling over laughing, pointing, saying, "Where's Willie?" Guys looked down, realized, and started dressing real fast. The TI came out. Everybody was disheveled, but at least had clothes on now. And he marched us back to the barracks so we could put our clothes up into our lockers. And then gave us some talks about our new life in the Air Force. And about that time, it was time to go to chow hall again. Now that's my memory of what happened. Other people would tell you different. For me, it's all true, give or take a lie or two. And if you don't believe it, you don't have to. Because half the time I don't believe it either. But I was never called so many names in all my life in one short period of time, from the entrance to the exit. Everybody behind that counter was calling me something new, something I'd never heard before. Quite the vocabulary, those guys. I don't think they can use vocabulary like that now, but they sure did back then. They didn't give us any slack either. We had 6 weeks to get ourselves into a military lifestyle. 6 weeks to go from a bobbing group of men when they walked into fluid marching military men. When they taught us to march, one of the TIs taught us what he called razzle-dazzle. It wasn't marching in a straight line, but reverse and to the left and to the right and reverse and then around, and that was kind of fun. I went through that 6 weeks and found out that I had been given the honor of going to officers training school. And was placed into what was called OT hold. I was living in the barracks with other guys who were going to officer training school when the next class opened up. This was in December they put me in there. The next class was opening up in May. So I stayed there for that long. They gave me a desk job. It was an office that took care of the people who were given their discharge, good, bad, whatever, medical. Some of those poor guys were tossed out of the military or the Air Force and practically went straight into the Army. Through another 6 weeks basic training and then given a rifle and sent to Vietnam. I don't think they were happy that they had flunked out of the Air Force basic training. But that was interesting. Met some interesting people. That particular December, or that particular February, I got 3 birthday cakes. My mother sent one in the mail, and a sergeant I knew, his wife cooked to me one, and a girl I knew cooked to me one. So I had 3 cakes that year. It's never happened again. Went to my first rodeo. I think it was in Houston. I'm not sure now. Went to town one time with one of the other airmen who in private life had been a detective on a police force somewhere. I'm not sure where. But his training, he was telling me, the people that got on the bus, he'd say, that guy has a gun under his coat. That guy's running numbers. I remember the fun times, but I don't remember all the pain in the butt stuff that we used to do. Because there was a lot of that. The Mickey Mouse, as we called it. It was worth it. It was worth it to have gone through it. I think everybody should go through it. Especially today. I think every individual, since women want to be equal, everybody 18 to 22 should go, not necessarily into the military, but some service for the country so that they can get an appreciation of how good they really have it. Because if they go through this and they gain the discipline that we had to gain before we got out, it wouldn't hurt them at all. And they might have some appreciation of this country, because they certainly don't now. My son has said in the past that he wished he had gone through basic training and gone into the military for a bit, just for that experience. And the experience is what I think a lot of these kids today need. They wouldn't be worrying about whether they were boys or girls. They'd find out in a hurry whether they were boys or girls. At least if the military were the way it was back then. From what I understand about the military now, it probably wouldn't do them any good. I don't know. Jeez. I can't imagine botching up the military like I hear it's botched up. I bet Russia and China don't have that problem when they get people in the military. Ah, well. It's the world they want, I guess. I can't understand it. the world that I was trained to move about in disappeared whenever I got out into it, and started changing almost immediately. I wouldn't recognize it if I saw what's going on now when I stepped out into real life or adult life. I don't know why I'm gabbing on about that, other than the fact that I feel like everybody should go through some sort of service for the country. And all these problems of personal problems, some of them would be lost through the training that they would get. And they would be introduced to life as it really is, and not that imaginary life that they're shucked into through college and university. Crazy. I think I should shut up now. All right, folks. That was a bit of silliness, but I hope everybody's doing fine. I try to do these more often, but I keep not coming up with anything to talk about. Oh well. This Sunday my dye comes in for the pipe that I'm working on, and we'll see how that turns out. I'll let you know something. Everybody take care. Be good. God bless you. Till the next time.